I have a lathe-mill combination machine. There are a lot of these on the market. Mine is a Grizzly. Like any combination machine, there are some design compromises. Despite that, it is precise and rigid enough for anything that I'll ever need to do. I will say that it is a better lathe than it is a mill. One of the compromises is the table has no vertical movement and there is a limit to the quill travel. I also have this somewhat battered second-hand vise. It's a Brown & Sharp number 2 and still accurate enough for me. The problem is that it simply isn't tall enough for this machine. Even at full quill extension, my longest cutters won't reach the vise. When I've needed to use this vise, I've cobbled together 2-4-6 blocks or tilting tables to raise the vise. It's awkward, time-consuming, and not always rigid enough. The goal then was to build a permanent riser for this milling vise. A bit of fiddling about with a ruler showed me I needed to gain about 4 inches. I thought about welding up a box or maybe using a block of steel with legs. I've got no welding experience, so the plate with legs looked like the answer. Then I found this piece of 1/2-inch wall 4x6 tube in the usable drop bin at a metal supplier. Here was my answer. It's rigid, fairly massive, and a lot less work to put together. The tube is welded down the center of one of the wide faces. That side was cupped almost 1/16 of an inch and not particularly uniformly. The opposite side was a lot flatter. So I secured the tube to the table with the better side down and skimmed off the high spots on the cupped side. Then I turned it over and did a full face cut over the whole top surface. You can see from the mill marks one of the compromises in this machine's design. Limited travel of the table in one direction meant I had to face the top in 2 setups. It did work fine enough, though. One of my other thoughts is that I could save myself a fair bit of setup time if the riser and vise could be returned to the same position on the table every time it was mounted. The table slots are accurate and uniform, so I mounted a key on the bottom of the riser. It's a snug fit for the slots. There are 2 mounting bolt bores in this vise, one through the fixed jaw and one hiding under the movable jaw. I secured the riser to the milling table and clamped the vise to it. After indicating the fixed jaw true, I punched the locations of the mounting holes onto the riser. The more central bore is a snug fit for the bolt. It will act as a pivot when adjusting the alignment. The bolt in the fixed jaw goes through a looser hole that will allow some side-to-side movement when loosened. I turned mounting bolts to fit the vise. One has a slotted head and fits under the movable jaw. The other has a short hex milled in the top. The hex bolt will be used more often to make fine adjustments to the vise's alignment. As you can see here, the head of the hex bolt is short enough to fall just below the vise jaws. I'm pleased with how this turned out. It's quick to set up, and the mass seems to dampen out small vibrations. My surface finish is much improved.